always powered by coffee, each and every time. That's right. It's Psycho's Platters Cockadoodle Doo, motherfucker. Listen, I normally wouldn't even be up early like this. This one is titled Good Morning VC. I'll be amazed if I get anybody in this next almost hour I'm going to be on here, okay? But the fact of the matter is I got up way too early this morning. I didn't even have my alarm set for when I got up, and I'm going, what the heck? And I thought for once I would go off and say good morning to you, because I know that in the 7 o'clock hour, at least Central Standard Time, Rachel does her thingamajig in the morning. Well, so I'm not going to be on too long. Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. I'm trying to remember if I could sing the Kellogg's commercial from the Monkees. I would say KELLOGG. It's Kellogg's. Whatever the fuck it was called. I love those bits. I always thought that was cool bit stuff. 4 a.m. Didn't Night Ranger do a song like that? I can't take anymore. I can't take anymore. Such a hard time loving you. Or is it? It's 4 a.m. No, yeah. It's 4 a.m. You can still rock in America. Now, my voice isn't screwed up, but I actually am respecting my next door neighbors because maybe they're sleeping. I'm only going to be on for 45 minutes to an hour. It's a little short broadcast. I'll tell you something. I don't know. Now, the night owls, not to confuse with the Little River Band song, but the night owls that are up, I used to be one of those people. I used to go off and I worked 10 p to 7 in the morning, for Walmart. I worked all the shifts. Okay. Oh, you're an early riser. Okay, you're an early riser. I'm going to tell you something, and I'm just throwing this out there for comparative sake, not for sympathy's sake. The only real time other than like I said, doing the 10 to 7s, right, is when we're going to be going on 4 years that Jess has been gone now, okay, almost. For some reason, maybe it was the grief or whatever, threw my body clock on a whack. And so, yeah, I used to go to bed. We would go to bed like about 1 in the morning, okay, because she'd get out about 10:30. So I would sleep from 1 to about in the 9 hour, because I worked 11 to 8 back then. Well, it flipped everything around, and the next thing you know, I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting here going, and I'll admit, Mick, that being up at 4 a.m. and I had an enclosed patio, so I could go and sit with my Irish. No, I didn't have any Irish coffee, but I would sit with my coffee and I would watch nature play its show in front of me. Now, before I forget, I got new subs, and you know what? I got to tell you guys, I really appreciate. I know there's only 2 people watching right now, but I can understand why. But it'll be on. I leave these things up. So new channels, new subs to me anyway. CGC Vinyl Guy. So I married a record collector. Big Bad White Cracker. Breakfast King of Loyola, and John Rampoldi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They're believe it or not, I bumped into. Okay, have you ever gone off and you see an awesome music shirt, but you're not sure if it's a music shirt? That's what happened yesterday, and I'm sitting there in one of the rare few minutes of downtime that I have in my job. And I went off and I just kept looking at this dude's shirt, and he was busy on his phone. And I simply said, hey, I said, I hate to, be nosy, but I'm going to anyway. And he had this kind of awesome looking shirt, and all it said on it was Howling Giant. And I said, sir, I said, is that a band? And he actually looked up from his phone and said, yes, it is. I said, they've been around. And I started asking questions about this band. So I'm going to listen to their music later. But I wrote Howling Giant, UK band. Check it out. They are based out of the UK. They've been around for at least 15 years, I guess. But he had me on this one. It's hard rock. At least that's my guess on it. But Howling Giant. So go check that out, because Psycho is going to check that out later. But I have definitely busy stuff, I think, on the boards today. In about less than 2 hours, and my son and my grandson and I are going to go get our eats on. Maybe that's why I'm so fat. I'm just a shade under 300 last time I checked, but oh well. And so there in the town that I live in, there is a VFW next to the post office, and the VFW, the first Saturday of the month, goes off and has this all-you-can-eat breakfast. And I mean, we're talking, it's a decent spread for $7. That's right, $7 to get your eats on. And you know what? That's great. That honestly is great. I am ready for that. I have been up since almost 5 a.m. my time. And so I'm only drinking coffee for the moment. But so we got that going, right? And then after that, I think in the 10 hour, I'm not promising on this yet, but for anybody that's watching this later, like we're talking like later this morning on Saturday, October 1st, October already. Look at this. There's a very high percentage that I will be in the Joplin, Missouri area. That's right. Psycho will be in Joplin, Missouri today. There's a mini Comic-Con, and I know you're like going, I didn't know you collected comics, Psycho. I collected comics for 20 years. I got out of it because comics were just starting to cost way too much, and they were getting greedy. They wanted the variant covers. It was ridiculous. Hi, Dwayne. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning to you. But so I'm not going there for the comics, although I will say this, that if I ever were to get back into into comics per se, okay, and let's just say I had a lot of money to burn, which that's never going to happen. What I probably would collect is old school EC comics. You know what I'm talking about? Late 40s to the mid 50s, before the Comics Code Authority came in and did their thing. I would love to get some original issues, but I would love to get like like DC and Marvel goes off and does these fancy I don't want to say coffee table books, that ain't right. But hang on a second. Did you now? I would have loved to have met Alice. I have Alice's autograph. I've never met Alice. And Grant Imara, I know who you're talking about. Mythbusters. I used to watch that show. I'm going to feel stupid. It's not still on, is it? Because if it is, I feel real lame. So this, I mean, Joplin is not a big town per se, and unfortunately, Joplin, there might be a big history for Joplin, but Joplin was known, of course, for a couple things. Number one, that really bad tornado that ripped through the town years ago. I've lived here 15 years, and I've never been to Joplin, Missouri. Joplin, Missouri, in the 1950s, late 40s, early 50s. Was known for having a minor league baseball team, and that is how Mickey Mantle got his start. Seriously, was in Joplin, Missouri. He had his own restaurant, I guess, at one point or another, in Joplin. That would have been quite interesting, I think. I've seen um, paper collectibles having to do with Mickey Mantle in that Joplin, Missouri restaurant. So, the Comic Con, yes, I'm going there to meet somebody. There's all that's half the reason why I go to Comic Cons anyway. Okay, but there's only two guests coming to this one. One is a Power Ranger. I could care less about that stuff. Sorry, that's for the '90s kids, I guess. I think maybe one of my kids watched Power Ranger when it was on first. And if I remember correctly, that was one of the places Bryan Cranston got his start. He was in the Power Rangers back then, way before Breaking Bad. Maybe that's how he got, maybe he was broke bad because he had to be in the Power Rangers. See what I did? It's too early, kids. But who's coming today is a wrestler. Yeah, me and my wrestling. What can I say? So, and it's funny, Dwayne, because it also ties in with baseball for a second. So my little weird story here. I'll show this first, though. Baseball history is cool. My favorite baseball player is Derek Jeter from the Yankees. Oh God, what was it? We were talking, me and my coworker Kevin, yesterday. We were talking about how the Yankees. How do I explain this? They were really more full of power hitters than they really were with the team interplay. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, and we're talking going back to the Bambino and Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio and the late Thurman Munson and Reggie Jackson and Don Mattingly and all that stuff there. So, your dad was a wrestling fan. Cool. So the person I'm going to go hopefully meet today was in wrestling mainly from 1995 to 2001, although saying that he has done bit parts, and his last televised appearance was in November 2021 on TNA Impact. I am speaking about Dale Torborg, aka the Demon from WCW, the guy that looked like Gene Simmons. That's right, in Kiss. He will be at this Comic Con all day. And I figure, what the hell? I remember this guy. And the story, though, behind that character, okay? So 95, 96 WCW, okay? You're talking about, you had the Attitude Era over at WWF. You had Nitro over at WCW. You had what was called the 83 weeks, which was 83 weeks of dominance from WCW. I know about Stampede Wrestling. That would be Stu Hart and family, if I remember correctly, and others. But that's where Stampede Wrestling got big, was because of the Hart family. So the thing is that by the time Kiss and WCW were going to sign a contract, I don't know if that contract ever got finalized, but by the time the concept was bearing out, Eric Bischoff was demoted, to say the least. And so the Demon character is the only one that ever was born out of WCW, but they were going, at first it was going to be the Demon, then of course Starchild, Space Ace, Catman. They were going to defeat 4 different wrestlers with 4 different personas. And so pretty much the other thing is that they did end up having a Kiss concert. Okay, it was like a mini concert on live TV. I want to say it was one of the Nitros. And I hate to say this, but this is true, and I'm a Kiss fan. It was one of the lowest rated episodes of Nitro. And so Dale Torborg, as the Demon, comes out there and does his thing. But by 2001, WCW gets bought out, and they end up, Time Warner contract, and he just sits out for a while. So as far as for sports is concerned, though, Dale was in the minor league system, but currently he is, I want to say, strength conditioner or something like that for the Chicago White Sox, because Dale is the son of Jeff Torberg, who was a White Sox manager and a player for, I think, the White Sox, the Rangers, and such, but I could be wrong. My neurons aren't kicking in very, very well. Yeah, I know. Yeah, no kid. Yeah, we won't even talk about. We won't even talk about how Psycho sometimes is very, very close to missing that. By the way, I can't remember if I told anybody, but my birthday was last Tuesday. I turned 55. 55. You know, like I said, doing okay, doing okay. I'm going to feel very stupid, Dwayne. I don't know if that question is directed to me. I did have one sibling. Thank you. I couldn't take it anymore. I just said number six buzz cut the whole damn thing. Hopefully it'll last till Christmas. Oh, there you go. There you go. Awesome on that. I had a sister named Sarah. She passed away January 31st, 2009. Jumped in front of a moving L train in Chicago. Okay, so I still can't believe it's going on 14 years. But her music tastes, let's see, I think the closest that we would have gotten, she did go to an Ozfest. I think she went to one Ozfest. She went to one Lollapalooza, but mainly she, let's see, who did she like? Man, oh man. My head hurts. I'm trying to remember. She liked Tori Amos and she liked Alanis Morissette. And she liked Therapy and a few others. Stuff that I normally wouldn't have gone and seen. But yeah, but she never got into. Now what's funny is that well, thank you. Like I said, I don't know. It's oh nice. No, she passed. Let's see, she was born in '83, so she passed away at. She would have been 26. Yeah, she would have been 26. Just a lot going on. Well, see the thing is that with Kiss, you got to understand. Oh, it still looks great. Anytime I think of an accordion, I think of Weird Al. That's just how it is. You see, with Kiss, with me anyway, I mean, you're talking about that first album came out when I was about 7. And to a 7-year-old, you're seeing, although I think it was 70, it was okay. It was either, oh, geez, I wish this would wake up today. It's either the Mike Douglas Show, okay, which I think was in late 74, early 75. It was either the Mike Douglas Show or it was definitely the Paul Lynde Halloween special in 76. So it was one of those two is when I saw Kiss for the first time. And I just said to myself, my God, what is this? And I was hooked. I was hooked, But I loved the Beatles and I loved Elvis and I loved all that other stuff. But it's just for me, Kiss, with half of it's obviously the show, half of it's the spectacle, okay? But the music, the only thing I'll ever say about Kiss's music, excuse me, is that those first three albums need a good remastering because they were not produced right. They picked the wrong people to produce those first three albums. That's just my opinion. See, yeah. Now I grew up uh, watching with my grandma Lawrence Welk. Yeah, we watched Lawrence Welk in my grandma's household. Me, I'd be like, of course, being in Chicagoland, we had a lot of different opportunities. We had, of course, Soul Train originally came out of Chicago. It did. It was Channel 9. They came out of WGN Studios originally, which is, of course, is a superstation, has been a superstation for decades now. But back in the day, when it was syndicated, it was filmed out of Channel 9, I think, for part of it, and then Channel 26 for the rest. But you want to hear my shitty Don Cornelius impression? Not Don Corleone, because I can... but my Don Cornelius... You come to me at the day of my daughter's wedding to ask me for a favor. I like doing this one. If there is warring factions here in the VC, everyone's got to get together for everyone's sake. The VC must be strong. The VC must hold together, or the VC will divide and conquer. And I'm sounding like JFK there at the end. No, my Don Cornelius impression is... Hello, everybody. This is Don Cornelius. We're going to have Sly and the Family Stone. We got the Whispers. We've got Prince. But all up next on Soul Train. Like I said, I got to try to be quiet today a little bit because my neighbor works hard, too. He works hard for the money. And cousin who turned 68 was made to learn to play. Oh, my. Oh, no. I only know of one rocker that, I don't know if you can count Weird Al as a rocker. I guess so. But there's only one other rocker I know who started out on the accordion. He joined a pair of brothers. Yeah, Dennis T. Young of Styx. That's right. I turned 69 this year. 69. Oh, boy. Was he? Did not know that. Wow, I did not know Peter Cetera had to learn the accord. Well, see, now I kind of wonder, though, if Peter and Dennis and Weird Al... Well, I don't know if Weird Al was forced to play the accordion. I don't know that story. But if you could imagine if they didn't do that, would they have ever gone into musical greatness? I don't know. I do have a little bit of stuff I can show you. Oh, wow. Eldest cousin turned 75 this year. So I don't expect any of the four people here to be currently living in Arizona or lived in Arizona or whatever, because this book here is probably sort of kind of Arizona centric. But I ended up finding for a buck, and I'm like, because I'm a former DJ, former radio disc jockey, but not big enough to be a radio personality. I wish. So if anybody from Arizona knows who Dave Pratt is, says behind the mic, 30 years in radio, and I'm only just started getting into this. And it's interesting. This guy, he literally went through radio for 30 years. But if you ever get a hold of autobiographies and you go to Google after the book was written. And in this case, it was written in 2009. All right. CBS bought his contract out right after this book came out, and he was off air. So much for you got 30 good years. You got 30 good years out of being in radio, having fun. I have had some people ask me, see, that's cool. How long was your cousin in radio? I love autobiographies. That's the only way you can. And, I mean, you'd like to think most autobiographies are, I would say you have to take a grain of salt with some of it. So I would say, unless the guy or girl is a total liar, I would say probably at least 80% of whatever is put in a biography is probably the truth. That's what I would say about it. But I've read some autobiographies and I'm going, really? I don't know. I just don't know. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you something. Yeah, the new book on Anthony. I have an Anthony story. No, I never met Anthony. Oh, nice. I never met Anthony, but let me tell you what the personal story on Anthony is, okay? So I used to have this dear friend of mine who he's no longer with us. They called it a COVID death, but I think the COVID sped up his liver was failing. Okay. So I think it sped him up. So technically he died of COVID, but he really died of COVID assisted death due to his liver failure and his kidneys. Okay. So he loved to cook. All right. He originally was from the state of Maine. And so I remember finding in a used bookstore an Anthony Bourdain book. And it told of his travels. I know he did a couple books. And I found it was signed because Bourdain did do one appearance down here in Northwest Arkansas. And I gave that book to him. And at first, I think he just thought, ho hum. I go open it and look in about the first 2 to 3 pages. He could not believe the signed. I have the ability to be a radio jock, but I never had the opportunity when I was younger. I just started out making sure all my voice said, see, there you go. There you go. Animations. Yeah. People say I could probably do at least animation. Right. Back in the day, you had to do that. You had to go to technical school and get your radio license. See, there you go. Oh, yeah. See, I went to Columbia College in downtown Chicago. I have media. I can't remember the title of the book for Bourdain, but yeah, it was autographed, and he couldn't believe that I gave that to him. And I was just like, hey, you liked him. He's one of your, It's just too bad how Bourdain was murdered. You heard what I said, murdered, because he was. By the way, I don't know if you know this. He was one of the ones that was helping to fund that movie on the child trafficking, if you get my drift. Guess who also funded for that film, that documentary? Okay, here we go. Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington. They helped to fund that movie. Guess what happened to them too? You got it. I'll tell you right now, I don't give a shit what anybody says. Okay? They were both murdered also and it turned out that Cornell either witnessed or heard something he wasn't supposed to. And they were afraid that it was going to come out. Now, another thing that made me suspicious, and I've been a conspiracy theorist since 13, okay? awesome. And they said when they found him, and I think he was in a hotel room, if I remember correctly, the LAPD went off and said, or who, I think it was LA, something didn't look right in the suicide. And I'm going, uh-huh. Yeah. And you can look this up for yourself. Yeah. Right. And so the thing is Chester went off and opened his mouth. And so he went off and he's like, just because Chris died, I'm paraphrasing, just because Chris died, I got, he basically was going to open his mouth. Next thing you know, Chester's dead too. Now, yes, I did hear that Chris and Chester did have a history of depression. Depression is no laughing matter. It's not. But here's the thing. They had, based on people that spoke with them in the final days of their untimely passings, they were far from depressed at those moments. So that's why I'm saying those two were, because to silence them, because a certain hierarchy would have been in trouble big time. And Bourdain was part of that too, unfortunately. Lord knows who else. Those are just the big ones I know about. Okay, so the 30-year broadcast thing. So, I only got to broadcast about 7 years on and off. I started out, of course, in yeah, I don't Shanny. You're not talking about my Shanny, are you? I saw her yesterday, finally, for like the first time in days. She's doing okay. Um, so the thing is that my son hit a nerve one day. Him and I were talking. Soon to be, uh, my soon to be 28-year-old son, and he's like, oh, well, you know what though? I mean, I want Shani to feel better, for God's sake. Says he had heart crap going on. Yeah. Oh God, Bush. Yeah, Butch. So, but my son, I think, could have been right. I had no ambition. That's the problem. There's something wrong with me. He's right. I didn't have the inner drive. I don't know if it was fear based, fear of failure. Fear of failure is a big one, to keep people from doing things. But I mean, truthfully, I failed in the past when I did radio. So I don't know if it'd be really fear of failure, since I already experienced it at least a handful of times. But the market here in Northwest Arkansas sucks. Okay, it really, really does. In the 15 years I've lived here, I have come this close to getting back on air 3 times with 3 different radio networks, by the way. And something bad always happened. Maybe, and it's kind of funny because it wasn't necessarily like, because seriously, all 3 of them said individually that I had something, that I did have the chops. They admitted that. And so that made me feel good, okay? But I mean, we're talking that 2 of the 3, one, the well, actually, I could take that back because it ended up being both of them ended up uh, the general managers for two of the three. Between the time that they made the decision, hey, we're going to put you on part time, because both of them were part time gigs. Between the time that they said, you're on board, to the time that I was supposed to start, they were both removed. One was removed within 2 weeks. The other one was literally removed in 2 days. And that one was such a BS thing to happen. There was a lot of backstabbery going on in that station. And he obviously no longer works for that station. He does internet stuff now. But that's why. That's why I'm not on air. The last opportunity I had for Northwest Arkansas was in 2013. That was the last time. And I just said, fuck it. I just was like, you know what? If you guys can't figure this shit out, I'm sitting here. I'm like, I'm tired of being on the sidelines. Yeah, the I should say, excuse me, the PDs, not the GMs, the program directors were the ones that made the decisions, not the general manager. I apologize on that. I'm still trying to work on this first cup here. So, and the one station that I worked at for a month here in Northwest Arkansas, that owner, he was the owner and the general manager, is one of the biggest assholes I ever dealt with. I gave it to him at the end. He thought he was being funny, but I gave it back. I gave it right back to him. He didn't like it. He didn't like it that I stood up for myself. I basically said, fuck you. Without saying really fuck you, I was being clever in how I did it. And I hate to also say this, and this is a little, I think his wife possibly had eyes for this guy. And don't get me wrong, maybe 10 years before that, yeah, I would have been, but of course that would be a career killer right there. Sure, I'm screwing the radio station owner's wife. It didn't matter. I'm so glad I was out of that one. But here's the funny part. This gentleman might, he kept saying he was going to retire. This guy is in his 80s, by the way, the guy who owns this station and four others. But the thing is I'm an acquaintance, between a friend and an acquaintance, with one of the morning guys there. And I'm sitting here, and he knew, because we used to work together briefly. And he goes, look, I don't want to promise nothing. He goes, but when this jackass, and even he called this guy a jackass, I'm like, I don't even know how long this guy's been on the air for years. In the mornings with this guy. And I'm like, how do you put up with him? And he goes, look, we just have I'm like, whatever. But I know, I'm sorry, I'm being long-winded. But the thing is he's telling me, that if this guy ever dies, and I'm like, he's going to he'll be there with cockroaches, Keith Richards, and maybe Ozzy Osbourne when the whole world goes. That jackass will be there. I normally don't hold too many grudges in my life, but he is one that I would go piss on his grave. People that I would go literally piss on his grave once he's gone, because he was just that much of an a-hole. But needless to say, so the thing is that once he either retires or passes, it then goes to a family person who I sort of know the family person, and the family person wants to be more contemporary. And so, in other words, I could have possibly a good part-time gig there again. That'd be funny, because at least, according to what I'm told, that if I did get the part-time gig there, I could do what I damn want. I could do what I damn want. I mean, the commercials would all be locked in, but I could play what I want. And I'm like, oh. So who knows? I never pray for anybody's speedy death. I'm such an asshole at 6:50 in the morning. I know. I'm sorry. Hang on a minute. I thought you were. You know what? I love John Bowden and his channels. God, some of the things like, the Bouchard interviews, Joe and Albert and Mark Farner again. I wouldn't have done the drugs either. I think truthfully, obviously, I would have been powered by coffee each and every time. But I was a boozer back in my 20s and 30s. Yeah. Yeah, I love a lot more than monkeys and kiss. Okay. In fact, if you let me go. Put a little more coffee in this cup because we got about maybe 10, 15 more minutes before I'm winding this down. And I'll show you what I picked up over the last 2 weeks. Not much, though. There's not much. That could change today. But who knows? And by the way, I normally don't mention this, but this would be kind of nice. I finally broke 850 subscribers yesterday because of the guy who likes Howling Giant. Go check them out. And his daughter. They both subbed to me right then and there. I have that once in a while. It's nice. So what did I get over the last 2 weeks? You know? Firstly, my mother. I love my mother. She's going to be 77 next month. 77. Still lives in Chicagoland. I wish she'd live here. But she's set in her ways. So I had this bore out of a discussion that I had because one of that's a good one. So I was mentioning about how this story goes back a couple weeks, that my buddy Doug Fields, host of the Vinyl Grotto radio show, went off and he went to one of my little haunts, one of my resale shop haunts. I don't get to do it all the time, guys. He's got a little more time on his hands than I do. My life is a lot more busier. But he goes, "You won't believe what I found it, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, "What'd you find?" And he goes, "The Banana Splits album." I'm like, "What the holy hell?" I said, "I have been looking for that album for at least 10 years. The Banana Splits album on Decca Records from 1969, if I remember correctly." I said 69. And I mean, some of the music that's on that show was okay. It really was. Some of it, on the other hand, was just yeah, I probably not, Mike. I bet you Sarasota Joe got flooded. Everything's flooded down there. Now I guess it's South Carolina's turn, I think. Prayers to the people in Florida and South Carolina. But so he found this damn thing, and it's not the first time. This is the second copy he found. But it had a something on there was some label, some sticker on this album. That's why he grabbed it for a couple bucks. I'm going. So my mom heard this conversation, and so she goes off, and she already bought me a really nice 1967 book, which I don't know where it's at right now because I just got done reading it. But the next thing I know, she goes, "There's a package coming to you." And there ended up being a small square package. And what was in that package? This. This is one of 2 Banana Splits EPs. Yeah, EPs that you got when you went and ordered through Kellogg's. Remember Kellogg's? KELLOGGS. But it has actually one of my favorite Banana Split song on here. And no, Tra La La is a good song. I like it. Of course, it gets stuck in your head. But it's I Enjoy Being a Boy. That's the one that I really like, which for the life of me, I cannot. Somebody covered that song in the 70s. I don't know if it was the Ramones or the Dickies or what, but they covered I Enjoy Being a Boy, which that particular song is sung by Joey Levine, okay, from 1910. No, Ohio Express. I get those always interchanged. So yeah, from Ohio Express, he sings I Enjoy Being a Boy. And then Gene Pitney wrote for him. Yeah, there you go. Winchell's something else. Barry White, I think, did one of his first songs was on Banana Splits. Hey, how you doing? I watched the record auctions in Japan, just saw original soundtrack of Western movie soundtracks. When checked, the picture wasn't on first screen, was the Duke, so $4. Let's see. I also got to see a concert last Saturday. I showed this in Rachel's broadcast a few days back. If you've never heard of Trout Fishing in America, this is their latest album from 2020 called Safe House. I met them and got them to autograph this. Go check them out because I'll tell you, they're a bunch of fun. It's hard to pigeonhole them. Some call them folk, some call them children's music, folk children's music, all different kinds of things. But go check out Trout Fishing in America. They've been around since 1976. The duo, they have opened up for people like Bob Dylan, Bob Weir, Peter Tork even. They opened for Peter Tork in one show. They actually did a cover of Last Train to Clarksville. They're a duo, so it's just the 2 of them. Really good stuff. And then for free, they gave everybody that bought something Closer to the Truth from 1999. I got them to sign this. Also, special guests on here, Vassar Clements and Jerry Douglas, who, of course, are famous folk musicians as well. So we got that. And I went and sold some vinyl a few days back. And when I usually sell vinyl, I end up usually getting an album or 2 in trade, for some of that. And so I actually found an album that I've been looking for quite a while, from 1972 on Epic Records. Now, you're talking about the Orange Epic label now. It flips. Randy California's Captain Copter and the Fabulous Twirly Birds. That's right. Here's the front. Here's the back. It's kind of funny because the back almost looks like Jimi Hendrix on his backside there. It almost kind of looks like Jimi Hendrix. But needless to say, although you do have a Hendrix connection here, yeah, that's right. Randy California. You are absolutely right. When he died, I mean, what a way to go to save your 12-year-old stepson in Hawaii from the getting caught in an undertow, and then you're caught in the undertow. It's like, oh man, what the hell? But I would have loved to have seen Spirit. I remember being in Chicagoland growing up that Spirit used to play a lot in the bars. Seriously, late '70s through the early '90s, they would play. I really would have loved to have seen him. But so needless to say, so on here, you've got um, you've got members of Jimi Hendrix's band, and also Fat Mattress, um, and a guy that also worked with Leslie West. So and Ed Cassidy, of course, from Spirit too, his stepdad all these years. So very curious to hear this record and see how that sounds. But that was pretty much, yeah. Spirit, um, definitely a great band. That's right. That is absolutely right. I remember that story, but it only was because um, Spirit's last CD. They told about that story, um, because on that last CD, oh boy, um, there was an unreleased song that Jimmy co-wrote with Randy, I guess. Oh, okay. So, I mean, I think that was very cool indeed. Yes, I just posted it up there. Um, and so, small world, right? Small world. Um, Speaking of Peter, nah, shut up, Meg. No, not that Peter. So, um, and no, not Red Peter. Red Peters either. We ain't gonna go there. Um, so, two new releases coming out from What Number Is This Chip 7A. One of them, of course, that's coming out in about 2 weeks, if I remember right. Davy Jones, Manchester Boy Personal File. That's the name of the LP. That's going to be some released, some unreleased. Demos going back to about 1969, 1970. There's two demos that were originally recorded for the sessions for the Davy Jones 1971 solo album on Bell Records that never made it. One of them was a Paul McCartney song. So that I've heard it. You can listen to it on YouTube. It is interesting to say the least. And then there's going to be a EP coming out after that of Peter Tork, one unreleased song from 2016, which, if I remember correctly, was recorded at the sessions for Monkey's Christmas Party, and it was never used. So you've got one unreleased studio track and then three unreleased live songs from the Speakeasy, that live at the Speakeasy. So those will be coming out very, very soon. She's doing a lot better, thank you. In fact, I'll be seeing her later. Yep, that's right. I've got that episode of Ed Sullivan, and I watch it once in a while. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Didn't know that Buddy Guy had a new one coming out. A buddy of mine from high school, his name is Frank Blinkle, but his stage name is Frank Bang, was guitarist for Buddy for 5 years. Yeah, for 5 years. I want to say in the late 80s, early 90s. I could be wrong on that because we graduated in 85, so I don't know. It was obviously sometime after that. I want to say it was, but late 80s to around 2000, somewhere around there. He was for 5 years. He was guitarist for him, and he performed in my town. Well, McHenry, Illinois is kind of my hometown, sort of. I graduated from there, and just down the street from the high school is where he played at a new performing arts place. So I thought that was kind of neat. Uh, so let's see. For anybody that's into the hard rock stuff, yeah, no kidding. No kidding at all. I'm going to have to see if I can grab a signed Buddy Guy. I don't have one of those. But so the train got derailed in my head. Oh, so anybody that's into hard rock, you're gonna like the next couple months, guys. Wasp is doing their first tour in 10 years in the United States. They're coming through Tulsa in late October. I'm thinking about going. It's Armored Saint, Michael Schenker, and Wasp. Fingers crossed. The tickets are like 40 to 75 a piece, but I just would love to see this. I've seen Armored Saint back in '86, but I've never seen Michael Schenker and I've never seen Blackie Lawless and Company. And then the other one is Accept. Accept is doing their first US tour in 10 years. You can check out on their respective websites where the tours are going to hit. Unfortunately, Accept is not coming anywhere near me. They're going to Texas, and I think they're going to St. Louis. Oh boy, but they're not coming anywhere near me. Yeah, it's funny, Mike. But so yeah, I don't know when my next concert is. If I'm doing one, maybe we'll see. I'll talk about that more when it comes closer. But I'm gonna have to wrap this up because I got to get ready so I can go. Like I said, have my breakfast with my son and my grandson and start my day. We may end up doing another episode in a few days from now, just a little update bit and such. But you know what? I really appreciate you guys popping in here. I had almost 8 people in here this morning. I know. I consider this the Good Morning VC pre-Rachel show. I guess that's about what it is. She's probably going, "What's that jackass?" Yes, and you know what? Like I said, thank you all for being here, and go. Like I said, if I really thank the subs I've got so far and stuff. Yeah, I did not realize until recently. Yeah, I know, Mike. I know what you're talking about. That I have over 600 videos on my channel. 600 videos. I didn't realize that. So if you're bored sometime, go check one of my 600 plus videos. Like and sub, that would be beautiful. We're heading towards the path to 900. That would be nice. I've only been doing this 12 years. And don't forget to check out Howling Giant and tell them the Mighty Psycho sent you over there. They'll go, "Who the hell's that?" All right, look, I love you guys. Take care. God bless. Rock on. And remember, always powered by coffee each and every time. That's right. Cock-a-doodle-doo, motherfuckers. Cock-a-doodle-doo.